Hello friends, beautiful greetings of today to all of you. I really believe you must be in a full festive mood to celebrate Merry Christmas with full enthusiasm, and I would like to extend my heartiest wishes to you all so that you celebrate this divine festival with full heavenly glory. And I would like to request you guys to keep in mind the rising number of COVID cases so that you celebrate this festival keeping in mind all the preventive measures you need to follow. So wish you a Merry Christmas and lots of divine greetings for the upcoming new year. So I would like to begin today's session with a basic chorus for Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We all know that Santa's coming. We all know that Santa's coming. We all know that Santa's coming and soon will be here. So wish you a very Merry Christmas. So dear guys, let's begin our today's economic session. I hope that you must be fully charged with divinity and a spark of positivity amongst yourselves so that we begin our today's session with full concentration and positivity imbibed within. So let's begin. India seeks a wonderful opportunity to lead the G20 in the upcoming year with a main focus on the digital economy agenda. So as we move into the third decade of 21st century, digitalization has been the pioneer in aiding the post-pandemic economic recovery. The shifting contours of the global economy into the digital space have opened new frontiers for development. According to a recent paper by the Reserve Bank of India, India's digital economy grew 2.4 times faster than the Indian economy. With strong forward linkages to the non-digital sectors, digital output multiplier has increased over time, highlighting the role of investments to drive growth, and 62.4 million, that is 11.6% workers are employed in the digitally independent economy. India's digital transformation has basically been accelerated by the Digital India campaign. The role of digital economy is also becoming increasingly important for the G20 as it offers a range of opportunities for economic growth, job creation and innovation. So the digitally dependent economy is gaining pace on gradual basis. The G20 member countries in the past have acknowledged the significance of the digital economy and taken action to benefit from it. This includes initiatives such as the G20 Digital Economy Working Group, which aims to facilitate the collaboration between G20 members in promoting the digital transformation. The DEWG, that is the Digital Economy Working Group, originated with the formation of the G20 Digital Economy Task Force, that is DETF, in 2017 during the German G20 presidency with a mandate to discuss the implementation of an interconnected, protected and safe digital technology to develop an inclusive, resilient and sustainable digital economy. Ever since, the Digital Economy Working Group has been sent at the pivot of shaping the global policy discourse. So, The development of the digital public infrastructure in India has thus demonstrated that the countries and developing economies can leapfrog the traditional barriers to large-scale social and digital transformation at an affordable cost. The DPI, that is the digital public infrastructure, plays a crucial role in enhancing the government-citizen engagement by empowering citizens and ensuring the ease of governance, business and living. The Prime Minister described DPI in the Bali G20 summit as the most remarkable change of our era, the proper use of which can be a force multiplier in the decades-long global shift against poverty and challenges of the future. India, as the G20 president in 2023, will look forward to basically inculcate the benefits of DPI and offer a cohesive framework to build similar DPI in G20 members and by low and middle income countries. Each country with its unique set of challenges will require the DPI of tailored needs. However, the basic functionality is inherently similar everywhere, opening up the opportunities for the global cooperation. So as the chair, India will showcase its experience, best practices and the challenges in the domain to help build such DPIs by proposing a common framework that also suits their individual needs. So let's focus on the increasing pace towards the globally digital economy. The alarming number of cybersecurity incidents in the economic and financial fields is a serious issue, and this matter basically needs G20 cooperation to effectively harness the global digital economy's opportunities. Ensuring its security remains a very vital aspect. A robust cybersecurity framework and a need for better awareness about cybersecurity and safety in the current digital age is the need of the hour. The DEWG at the G20 offers a fitting opportunity for India and the member states to discuss the security challenges in the digital economy along with the developing curated responses to the possible threats of future. So we are in the process of actually developing a future-ready workforce. In today's digitalized economy, the availability of a workforce with the digital skills ranging from entry level to the advanced skills remains a fundamental prerequisite for development. As per the World Economic Forum by 2022, the core skills required to transform most roles will, on average, change by 42%. DEWG in the past has acknowledged this challenge and has come up with a consensus on the need for comprehensive solutions for the digital skilling to be incorporated at a gradual pace. The digital skilling is basically a critical concern for each member country. However, due to the varying stages of development, inherent digital skill gaps still exist across the G20 societies. Therefore, the changing nature of technology and its diffusion across the sectors implies a greater need for coordination across the countries to impart futuristic skills that are easily accessible to a broad population base. India's presidency in 2023 provides an opportunity for the G20 to debate on this particular topic and come with the strategies to build reskilling and upskilling programs. So now it's the India's subcontinent's opportunity to lead. India's digital economy has seen tremendous growth in the past decade. A growing user base of 800 million plus internet users, over 107 unicorns with a valuation of nearly $340.79 billion and a system of over 1.3 billion digital identities transforming the public service delivery. The country is poised to lead the global conversation on technology innovation, digital public infrastructure, and other digital solutions. As India takes up the G20 presidency, India's success in creating a citizen-centric digital economy will be displayed as a model of creative use of technology to be actually replicated in other parts of the world. So this is truly a fantastic news piece of information that we are heading towards the digital, the digitally led society. And this G20 digital economy agenda is the major area of focus for the upcoming G20 summit to be held in India. Now the next topic for today is India needs to focus on technology, energy and skilling as per the Finance Ministry of our country, Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman. India needs to focus on the medium-term challenges, including securing technology and resources for energy transition and skilling its youth, that is the main demography aspect of our country, for the 21st century economy while sticking to the fiscal consolidation, the Finance Ministry has said. The Indian economy grew at 9.7% in the first half of the current fiscal year, supported by the robust domestic demand and upbeat investment activity, and the global slowdown has not yet been mirrored in the performance of the domestic economy, it said in its monthly economic review for November. Despite the positive economic indicators, the ministry said that the outlook remains cautiously optimistic. A commitment to the macroeconomic stability will underpin both economic performance and investor interest in India, it added. So as we head into the year 2023, the global economic developments are expected to complicate the outlook further, and therefore continued vigilance is actually a critical aspect, the most important aspect in maintaining India's external resilience, it said. No country can afford to sit on its laurels, India included. Counting on the positive indicators, the ministry said private consumption reached its highest among all second quarters during the past 11 years at 58.4% of the gross domestic product, indicating that the investment cycle was underway. The investment rate rose to be the highest among all second quarters since 2012-13 at 34.6% of the GDP, hinting at the beginnings of an investment cycle, the report said. The sectoral analysis suggested that the growth was driven by pent-up demand from the services sector, enhanced agricultural exports, and robust construction activity aided by increased infrastructure investment, it said. According to the report, inflationary pressures have been easing. As per the CPI inflation rate coming down to below the RBI's upper tolerance limit of 6% in November, but the core inflation persisted at an elevated level of 6%. The report added that inflationary pressures would decline further and may get reflected in the CPI core inflation in the next few months. And for your kind information, I would also like to bring to your notice that WPI has also been on a declining verge. So this is actually the good news. The report underlined that while the Indian external sector continued to face the headwinds due to the global slowdown, the downside to a widening current account deficit is expected to be limited. supported by the robust services export performance and by the inward remittances, which are expected to touch $100 billion this fiscal year. So the stable FDI, that is the foreign direct investment flows, resurgent FPI flows, and foreign exchange holdings that provide an import cover of 9 months cushioned the external front, the report added. So despite all the positive cues in favor of India, it said that continued vigilance was actually a critical aspect in maintaining India's external resilience. So our main focus area is on the aspect of vigilance in order to maintain the external resilience at the best possible level for our economy. So the continued commitment to the macroeconomic stability will underpin both economic performance and investor interest in India. The latter one, that is the investor interest, is actually very high currently. It needs to be nurtured, the report said. It pointed out that much hard work had been done in the last several years and a strong platform had been erected on which the superstructure of a middle income economy can be constructed. On India's commencement to its G20 presidency on December 1, it said the country has basically inherited the responsibility of steering collective action for restoring global economic and financial stability in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, with a focus on inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth. So I repeat it once again, as this is the main highlight of our discussion. On India's commencement to its G20 presidency on December 1, it said the country has inherited the responsibility of steering the collective action for restoring the global economic and financial stability in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, with a focus on inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth. So we need to be cautiously very optimistic. The global slowdown not mirrored by the Indian economy. India grew at 9.7% in the H1 of the financial year 2023. Growth boosted by domestic demand investment, and inflation will cool in the next few months subsequently. Though it is on the verge of decline, but it will decline further. So this is a great news, providing soothing relief to every Indian in the country. Downside to the widening current account deficit to be limited, as the services export inward remittances are basically the category of supporting the current account deficit. India needs to focus on the medium-term challenges. Moreover, the macro stability to drive the economic performance and investment. Now let's discuss what all structural reforms are being called by the International Monetary Fund, the major global or international forum. The International Monetary Fund cautioned that India's fiscal space is at risk, as it called for a more ambitious and well-communicated consolidation in order to ensure medium-term fiscal sustainability. In its Article 4 consultation report released on 23rd December 2022, the IMF called for further structural reforms, including addressing the adverse impact of climate change to secure strong and sustainable growth. The International Monetary Fund has forecast a 6.8% growth for India in the financial year 2023, falling to 6.1% in the financial year 2024. So it is basically because of the global headwinds, rising uncertainties in the global headwinds, that the GDP is expected to fall down in the financial year 2024. Additional monetary tightening would be carefully calibrated and communicated for balancing the inflation objectives and growth needs, the IMF's executive board said in its assessment included in the report. The exchange rate should continue to act as a shock absorber, with the foreign exchange intervention limited to addressing the disorderly market conditions, the board suggested. The board welcomed India's plan to introduce a central bank digital currency, that is the CBDC, as it commended the country's remarkable achievements in digitalization, as we have just discussed, and suggested a further narrowing of the digital divide through improved access and literacy. The International Monetary Fund's Article 4 consultation report includes a staff report that provides a country assessment and executive board assessment based on the report, and a statement by the executive director of the country. Policies are addressing new economic headwinds, the IMF said in a statement, warning a sharp global growth slowdown in the near term would affect India through trade and financial channels. The tightening global financial conditions can weaken our asset quality and hence result in the financial sector stress, limiting the credit provision and negatively impacting the long-term growth, it said, sounding a note of caution. The intensifying spillovers from the war in Ukraine, the emergence of a new COVID variant, and a domestic inflation are other risks. On the upside, however, the successful implementation of the wide-ranging reforms or greater than expected dividends from the remarkable advances in digitalization could increase India's medium-term growth potential. It favored reforms in the financial sector to the governance aspect and hence reduced the government footprint to support strong medium-term growth, and hence suggested prudential tools could help address risks stemming from tightening in the financial conditions. Reflecting the broad-based price pressures, inflation is projected at 6.9% in the financial year 2023 and is expected to moderate only gradually over the next year. The current account deficit is expected to increase to 3.5% of the GDP in the financial year 2023 as a result of both higher commodity prices and strengthening import demand. So as far as the fiscal consolidation is concerned, the report said Indian authorities have reaffirmed their commitment to bring down its fiscal deficit to nearly 4.5% of the GDP by the financial year 2025-26, implying a general government deficit of 7.5% of the GDP. A clearly communicated medium-term fiscal consolidation plan is actually critical to overall enhancement of the policy space and hence facilitating the private sector-led growth, the staff report said, adding that announcing further deficit reduction measures would reduce uncertainty and lower risk premia. The staff report said reversing the fuel excise tax cuts, further broadening the corporate and personal income tax bases, simplifying the goods and service tax rate structure, rationalizing the items expected to subject to the preferential GST treatment, and continued improvements in the tax administration in line with the international good practice would help narrow India's tax gap, estimated at around 5% of the GDP. Further, it said maintaining the momentum in the asset monetization and privatization agenda can generate additional receipts. So on the expenditure side, improved efficiency through better targeting of the subsidies can reduce the leakages. India's executive director at the IMF, KV Subramanian, did not agree with the staff's view that India's fiscal space is at risk. Public debt remains very much sustainable given the favorable growth dynamics and a strong commitment to the consolidation aspect, he said in a statement included in the report. The Finance Minister Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman had earlier said this week that the centre will meet the fiscal deficit target of 6% of GDP in the current fiscal itself. The IMF said the central bank digital currency, that is the CBDC, may yield greater additional benefits as it basically facilitates the cross-border transactions. A CBDC would complement the already relatively efficient domestic payment system where the private providers offer low-cost, real-time payments, the staff report said. At the same time, a CBDC could significantly contribute to addressing the inefficiencies that characterize the cross-border transactions but would require strong international cooperation. Important risks such as the threats to the cybersecurity warrant caution in implementation, it said. India has navigated a very difficult external environment. We are seeing the economy grow robustly. This is actually much better than the peers. India is contributing 0.5% to the global growth this year, said Nada Chowdhury, mission chief to India IMF. What a great moment of pride it is being recognized at an international level, at the International Forum IMF, for our great performance. We think additional policy tightening may be needed as the core inflation is still sticky, but further increases need to be actually calibrated, said Mr. Jarko Turunen, Deputy Mission Chief to India, IMF. So the only cure that they have suggested or the proactive measure that they have suggested is to ensure the additional policy tightening in order to maintain the core inflation, or in order to tackle with the core inflation, as it is still sticky, but it is of the view that further increases need to be calibrated. So dear guys, it is actually what a beautiful moment of pride. That's what I wish to say. Now we are going to discuss that the government is of the view to providing the free food to 814 million Indians till December 2023. The government will provide completely free food to nearly 814 million eligible Indians till December 2023, withdrawing for a year even the nominal price charged for the food grains supplied under the National Food Security Act. The centre will basically bear the entire 2 lakh crore rupees cost, which could lift the overall food subsidy bill. The free ration scheme under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, that is PMGKAY, will now be clubbed with the NSFA till December 31, 2023. It has now been basically decided that these food grains will be offered completely free, said Mr. Piyush Goyal, Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. 5 kgs food grain per person to priority household beneficiaries, also called the general category, and 35 kg per household to basically Antyodaya Ann Yojana, that is AAY beneficiaries, will be provided free of cost for 1 year, the government said. The Union Cabinet approved the decision on 23rd December. Under the NFSA, the government basically gives 5 kgs of food grains per person per month, with rice charged at 3 rupees a kg, wheat at 2 rupees a kg, and coarse grain at 1 rupee a kg. The Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, that is PMGKAY, is basically a COVID relief measure over and above the highly subsidized food provided under the Food Security Law. The scheme was extended multiple times to ensure that the poor do not go hungry, Mr. Goyal said. Under this particular scheme, since April 2020, following the COVID outbreak, the government provided another additional 5 kgs of food grains per person per month free of cost to the food security law beneficiaries. It has also been decided that 80 crore beneficiaries of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana will continue to be offered 5 kgs of free food grains per month for the next year, Mr. Goyal added. And the minimum support price, that is the MSP for milling copra, has been fixed at 10,860 rupees a quintal and ball copra at 11,750 rupees per quintal for the 2023 season, an increase of 270 rupees per quintal for milling copra and 750 rupees per quintal for the ball copra over the previous season. So this is truly remarkable that what all steps we are basically incorporating in our economy to help provide in providing the food security to the poor people. This is actually remarkable, and our respected Prime Minister and his entire team is working in this particular aspect to basically initiate the schemes, to bring the schemes in picture, so that the poor may be benefited at the best possible level, so that the basic necessities may be ensured at the best level. This is really commendable. Now we are also going to have a brief overview of the COVID picture at a global level. China estimates the COVID surge is infecting 37 million people a day. Nearly 37 million people in China have been infected with the COVID-19 on a single day this week, according to the estimates from the government's top health authority, making the country's outbreak by far the world's largest. I would also like to bring to your notice that in India, all the private hospitals are trying their level best to gear up and be proactive in their approach. They are trying to maintain all their equipments which would be required in the near future if the COVID cases rise in the near future in the Indian economy. So the required measures have also been suggested by the respected ministries to help in preventing the spread of the COVID crisis in India. That is the continuous usage of masks, along with the usage of the sanitizers and maintaining social distancing are the key requirements for helping it and the overall prevention of the spread of the COVID in our country. That's what we can do at our individual levels. So that's all, dear guys, for today's session. I hope you would have been benefited immensely with this great, insightful and in-depth analytical discussion. So I would like to wrap up today's session here itself, and I really wish you all a Merry Christmas once again. Celebrate it with full enthusiasm and invoke divinity among yourselves. And keep in mind the COVID measures. Fingers crossed. All the best. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel for getting notified on the economic updates on regular basis. Namaskar. Jai Hind.